Good afternoon, everyone. I'm actually reading from an article of a presentation by a pastor from Texas. I thought it was interesting, and so I'm going to read it on air. How the world is heading toward mark of the beast technology. To anyone who is aware and watching and knows the Bible, it is evident that the world is moving toward the mark of the beast at an incredible rate. It is possible to see the actual fulfillment of prophecy that was spoken almost 2,000 years ago. The book of Revelation, written in 95 AD, speaks of a time when the government of the world will impose upon all its citizens the necessity of having a mark in order to buy and sell. The actual carrying out of this prophecy by a world government would have been highly improbable until recent advances in technology and world mindset. The key verses that talk about the mark of the beast are found in Revelation 13:16 through 18. He calls us all both small and great, and so on. You can read that for yourself. In this article, I will discuss the following three factors that show we are moving toward the mark of the beast becoming a reality. Three factors that show we are moving toward the mark of the beast are the need for identification. Just look at our border control today. Border control, the issue in our world in regards to identity, has become increasingly complex. When Donald Trump was president, he intended to build a wall along the southern border of the United States in order to be able to identify those who can legally and rightfully enter the United States. Europe has been inundated with refugees in the last few years from the turmoil caused by ISIS. So we are hearing constantly news around the world of the need to properly vet those from other countries to see who is who. Today, most identification has to do with what you carry, your passport, driver's license, or other IDs such as credit cards, or what you remember, your PIN or passwords. The issue with the type of identification is that it can be lost or stolen or altered. That is why the New York Times' Tom Shanker, July 13, 2011, to track militants, U.S. has a system that never forgets a face, reports the following. The Defense Department is spending on biometrics programs is enormous, set at $3.5 billion for the 2007 through 2015 fiscal years. One can imagine what the governments of the world will be willing to spend in order to be assured that the identity of all are easily known. It's not hard to extrapolate that the governments of the world would want biometric identification of citizens to assure the safety of its borders. Voter registration, the debate over whether or not Donald Trump has claimed that millions of legal immigrants voted in the 2016 election is true or not, adds yet another reason for a worldwide governmental agency to want a system of identification. Regarding e-passports, the governments of the world are already moving toward better identification by using e-passports. According to the official website of the Department of Homeland Security, e-passports already have a biometric identifier. As an e-passport contains an electronic chip, the chip holds the same information that is printed on the passport's data page, the holder's name, date of birth, and other biographic information. An e-passport also contains a biometric identifier. It's easy to see how this shift toward biometrics will make a huge surge forward to the mark of the beast when the time is right. It is amazing that this technology is already in place in many areas. Another area is healthcare, where positive and proper identification is absolutely necessary in the U.S. and around the world. Kayla Matthews posted an article on February 23, 2017 entitled, Are Biometrics the Key to the Health and IT Industry? In that article, she made this statement, Did you know your heartbeat, the rhythm and timing in which your heart pumps is unique to you? They are actually wearables that can measure and convert your heartbeat into a kind of a passcode. Amazing, right? Data is critical in the healthcare industry. It is why policies like HIPAA exist. Any and all health-related data must be protected from a breach. Government social programs. Frauds also run rampant as the government of the world try to help out their citizens with programs like welfare and Medicaid and food stamps. All of these programs have need of solid identification. I conclude that it is easy to see that the need for identification in our world today has increased, but that just gives us reasons why society would buy into such a system. Imagine a time like the Bible predicts, when many tragedies and wars and famines are causing massive migration of people. Such systems will be easily introduced by the Antichrist. However, we can see that even now minds are being subtly programmed by the necessity of proper identification in our world. The second factor that shows we are moving toward the mark of the beast is the advancements in technology. The ability to identify people using biometrics has been around for a while. Retinal scans, fingerprinting, and many other areas of biometric identification are now possible. While many have said the mark is going to be an RFID chip, and this is possible, my considered opinion is it will be some type of visible mark on the right hand or forehead of the person receiving it. Most people believe that it will be coupled with some type of biometric identification, perhaps even using multiple biometrics for 100% positive identification. An incredible turn of events happened in 2013 when Apple started to implement fingerprint scanning capability into the iPhone's home button. I personally use biometrics every day. I'm speaking of what the pastor's saying. This is not referring to me. He says, I personally use biometrics every day as I unlock my phone to use it. In the beginning, this was only used to access the phone from the lock screen. But as things progressed, it also started a revolution making biometric purchases. Just a short time later, Apple Pay, along with other smartphones-enabled payments, suddenly moved the world toward using biometrics to pay. Today, thousands buy their coffee at Starbucks and other places of business by using their phone and simple biometrics. Some biometric payment processes are now being done without using credit or debit cards or even smartphones. There's a company called formerly Pulse Wallet, that has used a digital scan of the vein patterns within the right hand to positively identify a person making a purchase. This is absolutely amazing technology, as the person's identity is verified without use of a password or PIN, both of which could be stolen. All the person has to do is go through a simple registration process, and that time giving a credit card and having their right hand scanned. So a successful scan of the right hand is all that is needed to make a purchase under this system. That seems to be the mark of the beast system, which everything except the actual mark on the person's hand. MasterCard started a program where people have to use a selfie picture of their face or fingerprint whenever they want to make a purchase. The concept has been tested in Europe and in Canada, and 9 out of 10 participants preferred the use of biometric identification instead of having to remember a password or PIN. Why all this is important? Because it shows that the world is getting used to using other means of identification, and for the next generation this will be just how things are done. The programming of society to accept new ways of doing things is happening all the time. This pastor says that in his last lifetime he has moved from attendant pumping his gas to pumping his own gas. He says we've moved from bank tellers to ATM. We moved from snail mail to email. The young generation doesn't usually even carry cash. They have been trained that financial transactions are done by cards with pins and chips. It's easy to see where we will be able to make the move to something that is completely biometric. The convenience of a cashless society. Today's consumer, myself included, like the convenience of being able to pay without the use of cash. He says he pays his bills online like millions of other consumers. He says he uses credit cards and ATM cards almost on a daily basis to purchase items. He says like millions around the world. I do this because it's convenient to me. Let me share some headlines from around the world that show this is not just a phenomenon in the United States, but is happening around the world on an epic scale unseen in human history. He references Eric Bagshaw of the Sydney Morning Herald with this headline on March 13, 2017. ATM users hits 15-year low as shift to cashless society gathers momentum. So Australia is definitely moving toward a cashless society. Lai Yan of ECN with this headline about China also on March 13, 2017. Popularity of virtual payments means a cashless society will soon be a reality. But it's not just people who are slowing in their personal use of cash. Governments are also in favor of this. The printing of money and mints of coin is an expense that governments of the world would like to eradicate. Which countries are closest to the cashless society? The following table shows how major countries are moving toward a cashless society. The only way the government could control the flow of buying and selling the mark of the beast calls for a thorough cashless society. So here are the countries that are going strictly to a cashless society. Belgium 93%, France 92%, Canada 90%, United Kingdom 89%, Sweden 89%, Australia 86%, the Netherlands 85%. So it's evident that the society is moving toward full capability of the mark of the beast being instituted. When you take a look at these three factors we've discussed, the need for identification, the advancement in technology, and the convenience of a cashless society, one has to conclude that the prophecy given 2,000 years ago in Revelation is a real possibility. Well, I thought that was a good, insightful article to share. God bless.